I think every single person in this locker room is a competitor at the highest level. So, yeah, when you feel as if your backs are against the wall, you never have to feel like you got to do it by yourself.
Unbelievable throw. Under pressure. Sacked by Quinnen Williams. Right sideline, Uzomah's got it.
You look to your left and your right, you got guys out there with you that our whole point is to help each other.
This one to Mims. That's Corey Davis climbing the ladder.
To be able to go out and lead these guys, just to know how hard these guys work and how important it is to them, and then you get that chance to lead them. Everything that happened that needed to happen for us, it almost felt like kind of like a sign, like get like a second chance almost.
Gets extra pushes, running left.
Maybe a little extra life to breathe in the locker room.
Touchdown Jets.
Welcome to Talkin' Jets. My name's Ryan and I'll be your pilot tonight. I am joined alongside my co-pilots. I have Mr. Greenbean and Mr. Matt O'Leary. Greenbean, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm happy to be with you guys, man. A lot of traveling and everything, so I'm just looking to talk Jets with my pals.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Matt, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. We got it's I don't know what season it's still Aaron Rodgers season, but I feel like Jets Twitter is uniting and hating like the Packers fanboys who are now backtracking like crazy. So I can't wait to make fun of them for a couple hours on here with you guys.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. My two co-hosts are going to get a little frozen out right here. I have a poll question in the chat right now. I miswrote things and I don't feel like retyping it. So thank you, Pedro, for letting me know. How would you feel about 2 seconds for Aaron Rodgers? That is the rumored trade that Yahoo Sports put out about the New York Jets and the Green Bay Packers. So you guys can vote on that. The 3 options are love it, like it, wouldn't do it. And if you guys have some other thoughts on it, leave it in the comments section right there in the live chat. For all you guys that are hopping in, make sure you hit that like button. For every 25 likes we get on this video, we're going to pick a t-shirt qualifier for our t-shirt giveaway at the end of this stream. We got 52 likes. We've already got over 200 people in here. So very much looking forward to you guys hitting that like button. And if you're watching this after the stream has already aired, all you got to do is leave a comment down below this video and you'll be entered into next week's t-shirt giveaway. So lots of fun ways that we can get into all this. T-shirt stuff, Aaron Rodgers stuff, we got Elijah Moore stuff, got a whole lot that we can talk about. So I think let's start at the thing that happened after we met last time, the Elijah Moore trade. The Jets wind up trading Elijah Moore and a 3rd-round pick to the not for the Green Bay Packers, to the Cleveland Browns for pick number 42 in the 2nd round. That's about the difference in price of about pick, I think it was 66 or 69, somewhere in there, like an early-ish 3rd-round pick for Elijah Moore. So let's jump off there. Matt, how are you feeling about the Elijah Moore trade and the compensation?
I understand why they did it, but I don't love it. I was kind of looking forward to Elijah Moore in this system with a new offensive coordinator and a functioning quarterback. I think he's an extremely talented player. You plug him in the slot, and I thought he was going to have a really nice year. Now, I understand, like, both things could be true. Like, I could hate how he handled things in season, which I think it was terrible how he handled it. But also, I was willing to give him that second opportunity. After they signed Mecole Hardman, supposedly, they started to get calls on Elijah, and that's when they decided to move on. That's, the story they're going with. I don't love the compensation. It's essentially, like you said, a 3rd rounder for a guy that they had a 1st-round grade on 2 years ago. So I think that's a quick hook. But also the thing that I don't understand as well is you have a lot of people who are cheering this and saying, yeah, we got rid of Elijah, the big malcontent, but then are like, I want to sign Odell Beckham, who is like OG malcontent. So like it something isn't adding up here. Again, I understand why they did it. They got the additional 2nd, so that way if they trade one of them, they'll still be able to pick in the 1st and 2nd round of this year's draft class. I get it, but it's not my favorite Joe Douglas trade. Yeah, I guess we'll take it from there.
Yeah, Greenbean, how you feeling about the Elijah Moore trade?
Well, first, I think it's funny because all 3 of us in last week's show landed on Elijah Moore being the most having the most potential to have a breakout year this year because of Aaron Rodgers and the whole thing, and we deconstructed it to a molecular level, and then he's fucking traded. It was like, oh, and the next stream I'm like, well, by the way, I didn't really mean I liked him. But yeah, I'm with Matt. Like I don't love it. I don't, because of the reasons that we said. I mean, I hate what he did. I will never defend what he did. It's wrong. The way he did it, the timing that he did it, he ruined. All but ruined one of the first good times that we were able to have here. And that's bad, man. There's no right way to do it. But the rest of the season, he calmed down. He didn't really do anything, but very much. And he did a little bit. But it was like, he's clearly a talented guy, and we wanted to get to see him. He was our second-round pick. We had excitement. So it would have been nice to see him. But a show I watch all the time, Jets Talk 24/7 with this guy Ryan, put out that there's a potential that he asked for a second trade. So if that is the case in March, that he asked for a trade again, Joe Douglas did a great thing. It's not a bust if a pick you made, if you bring him in here, he's disappointing and you can parlay him into another chance at a new player. That's not a bust. A bust is when you keep them here, you try to develop them for 4 years, they leave and they've given you nothing. That's a bust. So, being able to do that, like I said, I don't love it. I wanted to see him thrive here, but I got to give Joe Douglas credit. And yeah, man, look, we get it. We get another second. If that's how we get Aaron Rodgers, great. If we get to pick 3 picks in the top 43, great. If we get 2 picks in the top, it's a very, very positive move, especially with the addition of Mecole Hardman.
Yeah, I think my initial reaction was spot on with you guys. We talked about it last week. We thought Elijah Moore was one of the breakout potential candidates this year with Aaron Rodgers and Nathaniel Hackett. And to see him get traded and a 3rd-round pick just to get a 2nd-round pick back, that felt like the first trade that I could confidently say, like, I feel like Douglas sold low on this one. And I didn't love that. I do understand the optics of like, okay, hey, if Elijah Moore ends up netting you Aaron Rodgers or ends up netting you a starting center that you have for the next 5+ years or whatever, like 100% I'd sign up for trading Elijah Moore and getting one of those assets. Like that makes a lot of sense. I just had a lot of hope for him because like Matt said, 1st-round talent. I think there was a hidden potential there that could have been unlocked. And when we're flirting with Odell Beckham Jr., you're thinking like, well, why would I want Odell when I could get Elijah Moore for, about $2 million a year, where you got to think Odell's going to cost you north of $5 to $10 million a year, assuming he's not going on a crazy, crazy contract. And I guess Odell is the proven better player, but I just, health-wise, I don't trust him to stay healthy. Where Elijah Moore, I would have sat back and been like, wow, this guy's going to be available for most of the season. And if he's getting 3rd or 4th looks, whatever it is, I don't really care. I knew it would probably be an issue with him, but I was more irritated that I felt like we lost a really good player. And I don't think we got the compensation that would have maybe made me felt good about it. Now, like Green Bean alluded to, I did see a story on Jet Nation from a random poster on there that was talking about being in a box suite and hearing someone, like he's one of the attorneys, hearing an agent or whatever talk, and it's all hearsay, conjecture, and whatnot. But the gist of it was Elijah Moore requested a trade a 2nd time. He realized when he went public the 1st time it was a bad move. Went behind the scenes, told Joe Douglas, "Hey, Allen Lazard got signed. We're talking with Odell Beckham Jr. I see where this is headed. I would like to be moved." I don't know what else could have been said, but he was probably gonna, if he had those feelings, was gonna hold out a training camp, and it would have created a negative impact both on the team and also in his trade value. And his best trade value and best chance to get moved was to be a good soldier and then kind of do it the way he did it the 2nd time, if it's true. And look, that could be completely false, but it feels like that story seems like it could make sense. It didn't shock me in any capacity. And the tail end of the whole article too was talking about how Joe Douglas is reluctant to trade draft picks, like specific players that he deems valuable. Those are guys like Mekhi Becton, Denzel Mims, Elijah Moore. and teams have called about them, but we have wanted to invest into their future and continue to grow them. And that makes me feel good overall about our GM. I think there's, certainly a conversation you can have with like, hey, if you've made a bad pick, it's better to cut your losses and move on than to continue investing in a bad pick. But they believe in their coaches and they believe in their staff to develop these young players. So I guess, Matt, how did you feel maybe about losing Elijah Moore? Do you think there was a lack of development from the coaching staff, or was there anything else that may have contributed to the angst that was going on with Elijah Moore? And how do you feel about the young players right now that may be underperforming that we've held on to?
Yeah, that's a really good point, because you bring up the chances that Denzel Mims has gotten, or Braden Mann's been here for how many years now at this point. Like, some of his draft guys have gotten a little extra leash, so I was a little surprised that it seemed to happen so quickly. And like you brought up with the post on Jet Nation, if something like that did really happen, then maybe this is a different story. I don't think either side is blame free in this. Like, for Moore, I think he absolutely was pouting, and the trade request was at an awful time. I also hate how the Jets used him this year. Like, why was he on the outside for most of the year, and then why was he, why they have him running go routes and getting down the field? Did he give up on routes at times? Yeah, he did, and that's not good either. He deserves to be called out for that, but that's not his skill set either. Like, he should have been, going over the middle of the field, more in the slot, get the ball in his hands, and let him do things in space. That's when he's at his best. So I think it's a mix of both, sides, and who knows, maybe it is better for them to move on now. Each got a fresh start, and they go from there.
Yeah, I kind of understand that logic too, with the Jets aren't using him the right way, because we felt that way about Denzel Mims, we felt that way about Elijah Moore, felt that way to some extent about Zach Wilson. Like, I thought he should have been running some RPOs and utilizing some of those physical gifts that he had, and I think that's part of the frustration too, right? Like, it's the Jets weren't using him right. We have an experienced offensive coordinator coming in with one of the best quarterbacks of all time, and to just kind of watch that first round talent like go away is, it sucks. I hate seeing it. Green Bean, any thoughts on what Matt and I are kind of going back and forth on here? As far as like, giving up on young players, or, the development aspect.
I really appreciate how well you do that. Like, you make sure I hear what's going on. But I did hear this time. I was listening, I promise. You're the best. But yeah, I mean, I will argue one point with Matt. While I do agree with him, I don't think Denzel Mims got any chances. I think Denzel Mims got fucked. That's what I think. I think Denzel Mims was getting high roaded, but I do agree that Elijah Moore was, you know what I mean? So I don't look at Mims' situation as chances. I think he's really gotten a bum deal here. Right. I think, just like you just said, Ryan, one of the hardest parts to swallow is the fact that, right, we have an experienced coordinator who walked in, looked at, it. He went, okay, Mims, all right, that's my 50-50 guy. He can do, that's my slot. There's Aziz. I got it. I know exactly what to do with these guys. Where LaFleur, I don't know what he was doing. You know what I mean? Like Matt alluded to, or actually said, what was he doing on the outside? So it was very confusing. And there was a part to play with the Jets, but no other player on this team, at least as far as I know, told a coach to go F himself. Yelled, "You suck," had to be sent home, and then was deactivated for a week for behavioral. Like, nobody else did that. That all said, I was into it too. I think, the contract is interesting too. It's unfortunate. You think, all right, he's going to go for OBJ, and who knows, maybe because, like you said, Ryan, it's hard to depend on his health. He's got 2 ACL injuries. He's 30 years old, hasn't played. When the season starts, it'll be a year and a half. It's real hard to believe he's just, he's going to make it 17 games and then maybe into the playoffs and Super Bowl if we get there, right? But when the harder part is even OBJ is saying, I'm not taking $4 million. So that's $4 million is already more than, what is that, 2.5 times what Elijah Moore was making. So that's the thing. I think it's really, like, there's a lot there. I do buy, even though it's unconfirmed, I buy that something else was there. like that article that, with the lawyers and all that shit about him asking for another
Whoa!
trade. Even if that.
Sorry, Justin Crazy. I'll throw that up as soon as it populates. But dude, sorry, he just dropped a $100 super chat. Wow.
Go ahead. I thought I was frozen. I was like, I'm not going to talk anymore.
Oh, you're good. Hold on. Let me throw Justin's super chat here. Boom! Big dick super chat. Says, will Rodgers be able to survive behind our offensive line if we don't draft a tackle? Which side of the line would he start? Or if we do draft a tackle, which side of the line would he start? So, yeah, I think we heard some comments from Joe Douglas this week at the owners meeting, or I guess yesterday, talking about how, we're not there yet. We're trying to like continue to build this team. And you sit there and you're watching Joe Douglas and you're watching Robert Saleh, and they seem like they don't have a care in the world. There's zero urgency to get this trade done. Like, that's why the whole Yahoo Sports thing, we'll get into that in a second with the 2 seconds, felt like a very weird article to me. But yeah, can Rodgers survive behind this offensive line? And I definitely think he can. Clearly, we need the left tackle or, a tackle. I won't call it a left tackle. We'll call it a tackle. We definitely need a center right now because we don't have one under contract. And then you have guys returning, right? You have Becton on the right-hand side with Max Mitchell behind him. You got Dwayne Brown on the left-hand side, and you got AVT and hopefully a reinvigorated Laken Tomlinson. So I definitely think they're banking on Tomlinson trending back towards his norm and closer to that Pro Bowl self. That's why they restructured him to keep him here for these next 2 years. I think you definitely should target a tackle at the top of this draft. I think it would make a ton of sense. I'm not too sure what other direction the Jets might go at 13. Like if there was a situation where all the tackles were gone, maybe you go defensive tackle, maybe you go tight end in a very weird roundabout kind of way. Not that I necessarily would advise that, but I could see tight end at least before wide receiver, I think, at that point. But yeah, I think it's fine. I think the offensive line will be fine. I also think with an experienced quarterback will be better offensive line play because you don't have Zach Wilson running circles in the backfield, making your offensive line look worse than they already are with the injuries and whatnot. So I do think we'll be absolutely fine. I think you get the tackle in the first round. I would love to get a center in the second round and just you're cooking with fire then. No issues from me. I am 100% confident this offensive line that ranked, I think, 20 or 21 last year with horrible quarterback play will be at least that good. And I think it'll probably be top 15 with an experienced quarterback back there. Green Bean, how are you feeling about Aaron Rodgers? Will he survive behind our offensive line? And which, if you do draft tackle, which side? I'm going to say left tackle, but yes. Green Bean, how do you feel about Justin's chat here?
All right. Let me just say one thing, to Hennessy. Hennessy, I mentioned Mims because we're talking about him. It's not me. I didn't bring up Mims. Fucking every week I get my
triggered him.
Busted. I didn't do it, man. Justin, yeah, thank you. And I will thank the chat for recognizing that these chats only come in when I'm speaking. It's 100% of the time that Ryan does that to me. Right. So it's all good. I'm with it. And thanks, Justin. You're the best, man. But yeah, I think, look, dude, I want to tell you right now, this is my firm belief. And I am as long of a Jets fan as most in here, right? If not more than some. I believe that what we saw last year on the offensive line was an anomaly. I've never seen anything like it. We were the most injured offensive line in the NFL by a long stretch. We had the most offensive alignments. We had the most starting tackles. Like, dude, that's never happened before, man. And it's not going to happen again. I'm going to knock on wood because I'm also superstitious. That's not wood. That's some sort of metal. Oh, here we go. Okay. Got some wood. It looks like wood. But look, Becton's 23. I know we can't depend on him, but I do believe in him, right? I think the kid is a monster, man. He's doing all the right things. I'm going to believe in him until there's reason not to. Again, can't count on him, but I believe in him. I also believe we're taking some sort of offensive lineman in the first, whether that's at 13, a tackle, or we trade back and grab Schmitz. I believe that's going to happen. I also think we're going to use a second round pick. If we do take tackle in the first, I would not be surprised in the slightest to see us go center with our second Avila or whoever, right? Stromberg, Patterson, any of these guys. I think we're going to see that. That all said, I think this line's going to be stellar, dude. I think the depth is going to be there. Dwayne Brown, Max Mitchell, Mekhi Becton, let's say Broderick Jones, John Michael Schmitz. I think we're going to be stellar in there, and I'm not worried in the slightest, because what we saw last year is not going to happen. Dude, if it happens 2 years in a row, I'm going to cut my beard off. How's that sound? If it happens 2 years in a row,
you
cut it off.
dare. If you showed up without a beard, I would be like, who is this creepy guy that showed up?
Yeah,
I don't like
would
it.
ask where Green Bean is.
Yeah, where the hell's Green Bean? Matt, how you feeling about our offensive line? And, if we take a tackle, where would you put him?
It's a great question. I definitely think the offensive line is nowhere near a finished product. I would still like to sign Ben Jones, who's available at center. And I know that the injury concern, I get it, but I'm with Green Bean. I'm taking a center in that second round. I would love it for it to be John Michael Schmitz. I don't know if he's going to be there when the Jets are picking. So Vila, Weipler, Tippmann, whichever one you like, grab them. But agree, pick 13 has to be an offensive tackle, one of the top 3 guys, and you find a spot for him. Like the right side of the line right now, you're relying on Mekhi Becton, who's played half a game in the last 2 years. Max Mitchell, who had a scary blood clot issue at the end of the year. And on the left side, you have Dwayne Brown, who's coming off major surgery, approaching his age, 38 or 39 season. So I don't think you're good at tackle. On paper, yeah, but if you're one injury away from really, dropping down, which we saw last year, unfortunately, happen. You just figure it out. Get the best 5 on the field, no matter how you do it. But I think if you're drafting, the rookie at 13, he's probably playing, and it might be a tough conversation, but hey, Dwayne Brown, sit or retire.
Yeah, right. Like competition, it's iron sharpens iron. That's what we heard all last year, the year before that. Like, I would love to bring in an offensive tackle, and I think, when you have a 38, 39-year-old tackle, you say, hey, look, we're plugging you in as the starter right now. That's our intention. We had an opportunity to draft one of the best tackles in the draft. I do think it's going to end up being Broderick Jones. I'd be on board with that. And yeah, I just think center in the second round makes so much sense. There's so many good ones. And for the Jets to make the move they did with Elijah Moore, that clearly indicates to me that they want to at least hold on to one of the seconds. And it's the other part that I think is interesting is because of that trade, I was thinking maybe there's a situation where Douglas is only offering the 3rd this year and they'll settle on the 2nd. And it's like, all right, well, maybe they weren't even talking about the 3rd at all because they wound up sending it away. And now you got the 2 seconds. I don't know. I guess I'm talking in circles, and we'll get into that the whole Rodgers question with the Yahoo Sports thing. But Justin, thank you so much. I'm gonna give you a JETS. You're the man. Andy dropped in. He says, hoping we get the Rams, Odell Beckham Jr., he was fine there. I do like Odell. He just scares me from an injury perspective. I want him to be available on the field. Jonathan Moore hops in. He says, wasn't enough room for 2 Elijahs on the team. He's talking about either Elijah Vera Tucker and Elijah Moore, or Elijah Moore and possibly Odell Beckham Jr. That's the way I took that comment. It could go either way. Andy, our resident Packers fan. What's up, Andy? He goes, remember when I said a second and a future second with a chance for it to be a first, and I got laughed at by Packers and Jets fans. Good times. Do y'all feel that is a fair trade? I do. Yeah, Andy, I do. I do think it is a fair trade. If that's how it winds up shaking out, that's almost kind of what the Favre deal was, with the exception of like the 2nd round pick this year, which is kind of where a lot of us sort of felt it would fall anyway. But the conditional pick for Favre back in the day, I believe playoffs would have been a 2nd round pick, and then Super Bowl would have wound up being a 1st round pick. And that's exactly where this trade sort of lands. It's, hey, we feel very confident we're going to make the playoffs, so we're fine guaranteeing the 2nd round pick. And I think most people would probably be fine with that in 2024. For me, the 2nd round pick this year, I was a little surprised to see the Yahoo Sports article. So I guess I want to pass it to you guys before I give you guys my thoughts. Matt, what did you feel like when you saw the Yahoo Sports article? They're saying a 2nd round pick this year and a 2nd round pick next year is what's ultimately going to get the trade done for Aaron Rodgers.
I said this has been what I've been saying for the last 2 months now. This is spot on. Yeah, absolutely. I'm all on board for it. The thing that I didn't really get is, because supposedly the holdup, right, is the Jets wanting a 2025 conditional pick if Rodgers doesn't play next year. I don't know if I would let that be the thing that holds this deal up. Like, sure, getting another pick is nice, but I wouldn't, at that price point, I wouldn't be, hell bent on getting a pick in a draft 2 years from now if he doesn't come back. Like, that's not really making a big difference for me personally.
Yeah, I think the conditional 2025 pick I thought was interesting. If that is actually the hang up, I love it. I'm glad Douglas is having the forethought of having like, hey, this could be another Favre situation where it goes 1 year, it implodes, and he's out the door, and now we're giving up a second-round pick in 2 drafts. Like, I love that he's going for the 2025. I'm fine with it being a sticking point right now because I'm also of the opinion, like, I don't have to give you any picks this year. We can talk trade after the draft. And I think after hearing Douglas's comments and Salah's comments, with them being like super relaxed at the owners' meetings and no rush, for them to have a 2 second-round pick offer on the table, I don't know how much I actually buy it. Green Bean, how do you feel about the Yahoo Sports article with the 2 second-round picks?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing that you just said. If you listen to Joe Douglas at the owners' meetings, and Salah for that matter, I agree. They both sounded collected, cool as cucumbers, completely comfortable with where they sit. Joe Douglas said that, they asked him, well, do you have like, a target date? He goes, we don't really feel all the sense of urgency right now. Yeah,
and Salah even said, I think they asked Salah like training camp too. He's like, yeah, if you have an offensive coordinator that knows the quarterback and has been familiar with the system, like, sure, it's about, getting the players up to speed, but like, we're not necessarily concerned with the quarterback getting in for training camp. And it's like, whoa, like, why would they be making a trade now then?
Dude, that's what they're doing. I was trying to say it. I did a stream this morning and I was trying to tell everybody, this is called forward negotiation, right? Like, so these guys are out there, dude, they're laying bombs. They're throwing out there, like, dude, what the Green Bay Packers are doing right now is they're dipping their toes into a significantly more aggressive meat grinder of a situation than they're used to being in, right? This is like our world, right? We live in this muck, and they're like trying to strong arm us. The truth is, the Green Bay Packers have 2 free agent acquisitions. One is a long snapper, and the other one is a reserve safety who's played 61 games in fucking 3 years, or 61 plays in 2 years, something like that. So they're both nice signings, but the reason they can't do that is because they're locked into the $56 million or whatever. Dude, if they have him on the roster, they are screwed. They can't do anything. That's $50+ million for a guy they don't even want. Joe Douglas knows that.
No. If they exercise the option, if they pay him the $60 million, it's only a $15 million cap hit this year. So it's not so much the cap implications for this year.
Better.
Yeah, they are fine because the option is perceived or assumed to be exercised, and if it's declined, then they get hit with the massive cap hit. So they're not going to decline it because that would absolutely implode their salary cap. But what
does that do on September 1st?
So it would be week 1. So I guess it would be September like 7th or 8th, whatever that Thursday game is. That would be the deadline for them to either accept or decline the option. So if they accept it, they're taking that $60 million bonus, and they're going to get whacked with the dead cap whenever they do trade him or he retires. They're going to get hit with that. If they decline it, they get hit with a massive, dead cap hit. So like they have to do something, and it's either if they say they're sitting, if they say they're sitting week 1. Love is going to say, okay, well, I want to trade, so I'm out of here. So you're rolling with Aaron Rodgers for 2 years, and then you got a $100 million dead cap hit the year after, but you still got a disgruntled guy. Like the issue, I think, is going to happen in like April, where I think April 17th is when they have like optional practices or optional meetings for players within the Packers organization. And like if Rodgers strolls into the facility and trips over the curb, all of a sudden, you're on the hook for that $60 million. So Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
And that's the
It's
whole
interesting,
thing.
but it
And
doesn't
Joe
impact
Douglas
their
knows
ability
that.
to sign free agents other than like them, not knowing the Rodgers love sort of situation.
Right. All right. Well, let's add something else to it. There was
Mhm.
the Garofalo story that came out this week that where he said it's becoming known that Joe Douglas has kind of leaked it out there a little bit that he's aware that he's quote negotiating against himself, and any negotiation, any businessman, anybody practicing this in any capacity knows you do not negotiate against. Well, I guess besides Mike McCagnon and Itzik, of course.
3 seconds. Make it happen.
Yeah, but anyway, uh, they're not going to whatever the deal is. If it's 2 seconds, it's fine. I still believe that Joe Douglas is going to get exactly what he intended to the entire time. I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, I still sit back and I 100% agree with Andy. I do think the 2 second-round picks, and I agree with Matt too. I think the 2 second-round picks, if that's the price you end up ultimately paying, I'm fine with it. I don't have any problem. I think it makes a lot of sense. I just think there's definitely a better outcome for the New York Jets. I don't think you have to give up the picks this year because of the position that Rodgers and the Packers and the Jets have sort of wound up putting themselves in. Like, it's that also famous word that we've been saying for the last month and a half or so, the leverage. Where does the leverage lie? And based on the Jets, press conferences with Douglas and Saleh, I think it's clear as day they feel very comfortable and they feel like they have the leverage right now. And like Green Bean was saying, like, you don't bid against yourself. That's, rule number one in negotiations. Just sit back. I would say, look, I'm not really gonna. I guess Douglas was saying he doesn't want to have bad faith negotiations, and I think that tidbit is the part that makes me think 2 second-round picks could get done prior to the draft because there are relationships. I didn't realize he had a 20-year relationship with the Packers president or whatever it was. That was surprising to me. Maybe it dates back to like, I don't know if they were in Baltimore at some point or where they would have wound up meeting. But I do think the relationships around the league are important, specifically for the GM trying to work trades and things like that. You don't want to rake guys over the coals if you don't necessarily have to. I think there is some level of gamesmanship and some level of some level of respect that I think should be sent each way. Matt, do you think we should be concerned with maybe the inner workings of like Roger or Douglas and his relationship with some of the other GMs, and maybe not trying to gun for the best deal and go for the throat in this particular type of situation?
There's definitely some value in keeping those kinds of relationships. And I just thought it was funny. Like yesterday, obviously the big news was Lamar Jackson saying that he, demanded a trade or requested a trade on March 2nd. And then Joe Douglas later said that they don't see that as an option, that would be negotiating in bad faith. But I do think, like, in the back of your head, that is still a card that you can play later down. Like, he might not say that publicly, but later down the line, if Green Bay's getting hostile with you, can't you just say, well, I have this other thing that we could do if you don't want to make this work? Like, I know publicly you're not going to come out and say that, but, behind the scenes, I don't know. I definitely think the Lamar Jackson situation plays into it. And I do think it's a card that Joe Douglas should play if he has to.
Yeah, I think it gets to a weird point come the draft because I think you have to use the Lamar conversation prior to the draft if you want it, which I think the timing doesn't make sense because I would be fine after the draft. But if I were the Colts or I were the Falcons, as soon as I make my pick at 4 or 8, if I were them, I would offer Lamar his fully guaranteed deal that he wants, and I would force Baltimore during the 3 days of the draft to get their 5-day negotiating window open. So now they're focusing on 3 days of the draft and only have 2 days to really have good conversations with Lamar, which I don't know if they're necessarily going to match any contract at this point or if they're just looking like, hey, we're just looking to trade the guy at this point. But I think that the option for Lamar may come off the table once the draft hits, because I think some team is probably waiting to use their pick this year to give up the 24 and 25 first-round picks. Green Bean, how do you feel about the Lamar Jackson option as far as like, should the Jets use that as a potential like, hey, we could do this, and where do you kind of see the Lamar thing playing out?
Well, and let me answer another part of that earlier question,
Mm-hmm.
which was about like Joe Douglas's reputation being tainted somewhat, I think is where we were going.
Yes. Yep.
Matt said it. Joe Douglas was asked about his plan B. He was asked by Cimini, of course, trying to fucking, stir it up a little bit. That's what he does. He says, what about Lamar Jackson? But Joe Douglas's answer is why his relationship will never be tainted. He said, that would be negotiating in bad faith. We're not going to work on something else. We're going to get this done. You know what I mean? Like, we're working with them. We're not going to just, basically, would I like it if they just switched gears and traded him to the Colts? No, dude, we're knee deep in this together. It's going to work out. Just everybody relax. But like Rico the Pup said in the chat, Joe Douglas comes from the Ravens, dude. He's very good friends with their general manager. They came up together in the same organization. You think he's got to make it public if he's, got an inside track on whatever, needs to happen. He's not going to come out there and say it. He's probably got it all covered. But Joe Douglas is very well respected for those exact reasons, because he upholds what he's going to do. He's not impatient and reckless and all those kinds of things. But I do think, I love what you said, Ryan, about waiting till they use their first round pick this year, then go ahead and just throw the offer at them. Then no matter what happens, you don't give them this year. You trim down the timeline for the Ravens to be able to flesh it out and react and all those kinds of things. And you just might get them. And you've already used your first round pick. And as we all know, next year's first round pick doesn't have the value of this one. And you've kind of mitigated to some degree the damage or the impact, let's call it, of go ahead and making a deal like that. I think that's really, really a smart thing. And I would not be surprised to see something along those lines happen. As far as the Jets, dude, I think it's Aaron Rodgers. I think, again, like I said, I think Joe Douglas is as cool as a cucumber, or the other side of the pillow, whatever you're, like more. And he's going to get the exact offer that he wanted to give them from the beginning. That's what's going to happen.
Jet Fuel drops in. He says, what happens if Aaron Rodgers' deal drags all the way right before the season and bad luck occurs and Jordan Love gets injured? Deal needs to get done ASAP. I've heard people talk about this, and I do think that is there's certainly a concern there for sure, because if Love goes down, they're probably holding on to Aaron Rodgers at that point, because they're like, hey, we got to sell tickets. We got to try and win what we can do. I don't foresee it going that far. If it did, it would be the same sort of aspect with Aaron Rodgers. As soon as Aaron Rodgers steps foot in that facility, one, it gets incredibly awkward. And two, if he gets hurt and Love does not get hurt, well, guess what? Now you have Love under contract who's pissed off because you've now had to give Aaron Rodgers $60 million. And now you will not be able to extend Jordan Love beyond his fifth-year option because you're getting hit with a $100 million dead cap hit that year 2025, when you would have had to give him his extension because he would have been a free agent. So it's not even like you could franchise tag him, really. So I think it works both ways, Jet Fuel. I think it could be, Love may get hurt, but guess what? So could Rodgers. And that would be even worse, I think, for the Packers at that point. Mike Jerome hops in, says second in 2023, third in 2024. That could go to a second if he plays in 2024. And a first if we win the AFC title. So, the interesting part here is you can't do a trade based on if he plays in 2024 and the accolades in 2024, because the draft pick happens before the 2024 season. So you would need to say like the 2024 pick is conditional on the 2023 season and his and what he does. I mean, I guess you could hinge it based on like, is Rodgers planning to play before the draft? And as long as he's planning to play prior to the draft, you're able to give up that draft pick. That's, I think, how you'd wind up working it. I'd be fine with this, the second round pick this year, and then it escalates as far as the AFC title game. So I am on board with this. I just think that the wording's maybe a little off there. Andy drops in. Andy says, if the Packers want to drag this out, I'm fine with JD picking 3 top 50 players. We can wait this out. Yeah, Matt, how do you feel about Douglas maybe just sitting pat and saying, hey, we want to make our 3 picks and we'll pick up these trade conversations post-draft?
I don't think that's something that's very likely, but if it does happen, then I mean they have a lot of ammunition to get creative. Like we talked about John Michael Schmitz potentially not making it down to 42 or 43. You can now package those picks and get back up into the first round and land your guy if that's what you want to do. We saw them trade up for Breece Hall. We saw them trade up for AVT. So if they have someone that they really like, you can now afford to get aggressive because you have that extra pick from the Elijah Moore trade. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think that's probably going to happen, but I mean, just adding more talent to this roster is always a good thing.
Now, let's say we held on to those 3 picks. Are there certain positions you'd want to target, Matt, with those 3 specifically? Because I know you mentioned trading back up maybe to get John Michael Schmitz or something, but if you kept, 13, 42, 43, rough idea. Doesn't have to be exact by any means.
Yeah, tackle, center, and something on the defense, either DT, linebacker, or safety.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going to go. I was kind of leaning the safety route, hoping maybe an Antonio Johnson drops. You get your center and you get your tackle. Green Bean, how are you feeling about Joe Douglas possibly making 3 picks within the top 50 and not giving up a draft pick this year, saying, hey, let's pick up trade negotiations after the draft?
Oh, I love it. I would love it. I really would. I think that would be fantastic. And then we give him a second next year, which is at the back end of the second because we won a ring. And we give him, the 32nd pick in the second round instead of pick 42 or 43. I would giggle till I slept. That's what I would do. I'd giggle every night as I fell asleep. I would love it.
Now, what position? Where would you go with the 3 picks? Like, let's say 13, 42, 43, all wind up staying. Are there positions that you're hoping for at those picks, or how would you like to see us use them?
Yeah, I want tackle, center, defensive tackle, and or safety, depending on the quality of the player. Any variation. I think it's begging for it. This team is begging for a few little plugs, and there's a group of players that are literally plug and play, in my opinion. And I think we can get it done. Top 50 or 43. I think you can get a center, a defensive tackle, and or safety, and tackle that will literally just come right in and be able to help the team immediately. I'd love to see that.
Red John jumps in with a super chat. Thank you, dude. He says, Bean, Linval, Sue, wow, Sue, and Dominican Sue, or Mazi, if 𝐤 falls through. Matt, why do you think the Jets won't take O'Connell? I like him. Ryan, Ryan, was that your first YouTube short? I don't think it was my first YouTube short. I have a whole bunch of YouTube shorts, but that was my first one that I was actually in. Most of my YouTube shorts have been like gimmicky little, fun videos that are not like me in it. It's like meme videos. Yeah, I was at work and I did the Elijah Moore short from the phone, and I had like a lot of people commenting saying, I didn't know you had a job. I was like, oh yeah, sorry, I work full time, but I don't in the winter. I work at a golf course, so I wind up, getting laid off in the winter, and I do some YouTube stuff on the side. But yeah, first actual YouTube short with myself in it. As far as if Calais Campbell falls through, I don't know. I'm really hoping it doesn't. I'll be honest. That's kind of like where I'd like to go with defensive tackle. And Dominican Sue's a beast. I'd have to look and see which one of these guys would be the best as far as like a run-stopping defensive tackle. When I see Bean here, is that Green Bean? Or like, who is Bean? Yeah. Is there?
I think so. So it's a question to each of us. That's how I took it.
Oh, well, it started with Bean though. It says Bean, Linval, and Dominican Sue or Mazi.
He's saying Bean. Would you like Linval, Joseph, and Dominican Sue?
Oh. I like Bean on my defensive tackle line. That's what I like.
Me too.
But Green Bean, you could answer that, and then I'm an idiot. Red John, I'm a moron. I get it. It's a Bean question, then a Matt question, then a Ryan question. I'm a dipshit.
Yes.
Green Bean, you go.
Here's what I'm going to say, though. Ryan has a lot on his mind running the show. It's hard. It's very easy to miss a grammatical, glitch or whatever, a little nuance.
Whoops.
Right. So you're good with me, buddy. But I happen to love Mazi Smith. If that's who you're talking about the, but he would be a draft pick. I think he can be had a little bit later too, which is going to be nice. But I mean, I'd love to see a vet. It all depends on the money, right? Like I don't know where we're getting all this money this year, but I mean, hey, more power to him. God bless him. If he can pull it all off, fantastic. We're keeping Corey Davis. We're keeping, Carl Lawson. We're keeping everybody, and we're adding $1 million, $100 million quarterback. Okay, great. So I mean, if we can get a Calais Campbell, I know that wasn't mentioned, but Sue or Linval Joseph, any of these guys that can come in, I think that would be fantastic because all of their stat lines from last year are either near or exceed Rankins, which is interesting to me. Like they're still playing at a high level, even though these guys are on the back end, right? They're on the back nine in Ryan speak. They're on the back nine, but they're still, dude. Calais Campbell is 30. He's going to be 38 years old when the season starts, or 37 years old when the season starts, dude. And he's still right there with the Rankins of the world. Rankins got 10.5 million. What is Calais Campbell going to get? I don't know. So I don't know. I think one of those guys will be really, really smart, but I wouldn't rush it, man. There's a lot of defensive tackles in this draft, especially if you're looking for a space eat and run stuffer. You can get them in the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and they can kind of come in and give you what you need, and they're going to be $1 million to $600,000 kind of a thing, as opposed to paying Rankins type 10.5 million and get similar type of production. It depends on what the Jets are looking for. I believe that they're trying to add beef, not speed. We have the speed. I think they're looking for a fat ass. That's what I think they're looking for, and that's going to be found. Plenty of fat asses in this one.
Matt, how you feeling? Why do you think the Jets won't go after Aidan O'Connell, the Purdue quarterback?
Because I think if you're going all in on 2023, you're not going to use one of your draft picks on a developmental quarterback. I think you're trying to use as many of your picks as humanly possible on guys who can help you in 2023.
I completely agree. I think Aaron Rodgers, while using a 6th round pick maybe on a quarterback that's developmental, is not, that's not earth shattering. The Jets could use a backup quarterback. I understand all that, but I agree with you. I think using any asset not towards winning a Super Bowl, like realistically, any developmental quarterback coming in is not going to wind up taking any sort of meaningful snaps. I don't believe so, at least. And Rodgers is trying to get away from that, from Green Bay. He wants everything used to help win a Super Bowl while he's here. That's why I think it's highly likely, I think, that we exercise Zach's 5th-year option, because I really do think we use both this year's draft and next year's draft to fully surround Aaron Rodgers with as much talent as possible to give him the Super Bowl push that he wanted to kind of see happen. And then in 2025, you're not going to have your developmental quarterback kind of sitting there, and you're just going to, I think, bite the bullet on, the worst of, like the lowest of the 4 available 5th-year options for Zach. And I think, you just kind of ride or die. And then worst case scenario, if Zach's not the guy, like so many of you are probably going to tell me in the chat, they're like, this is ridiculous. Why would you even do that? Then it's going to be a flame of a season. You already have a bunch of dead cap hitting you anyway. So, draft the quarterback after that. I'd rather give it the really high Hail Mary shot with Zach Wilson and the attributes, and maybe he learned something behind the scenes, than, drafting a developmental guy now and just basically throwing away a pick. This pick, O'Connell, would feel similar to me like the James Morgan pick, where it's like, didn't really need that there. Greenbean, how do you feel about the Jets possibly taking a mid or late round quarterback swing this year?
I don't know. I'm still trying to deal with Robert Saleh's comments that Zach is number 2. I don't get it.
Well, he tried to back. Whoa! I know what the headlines are going to say. I loved that little bit of the interview right there. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, I mean, and okay, if that's what they want to do. I mean, look, I think, how many developmental quarterbacks do you want on your team? If Zach is the developmental, I mean, they might think. I mean, look, Zach's got rare skills, guys. I mean, let's be real. There's a reason why, people were calling him the best, second or third best quarterback in the draft, and the world was in love with him. Let's try to remember correctly, right? Like Greenbean wasn't in love with him, but the rest of the world was. So there's a reason why he was the 2nd overall pick. He got the yips, man. Like, he's throwing balls. If the guy's 8 feet away and he's throwing it into the dirt, 3 feet away. Like, that's not a physical problem. It's like there's a mental thing there. So the Jets probably really do still believe in him. That said, do you bring on another kid and then have to focus on developing him too? I don't know. I mean, they re-signed, or they gave Strebler a futures, didn't they? I think they did. So he's here. I don't know. I mean, I get if he's the best player there, maybe if like one of these guys they thought was a third is there in the sixth, maybe. But I don't know. I think the wisdom eludes me.
Yeah, I love the thought of where Zach could be. And I saw something the other day where I think Zach still has the fastest throw ever recorded by a recruit. And like there was something like they thought they clocked him at a 4.5 40-yard dash, which is like crazy. Like those metrics, if you plug Zach Wilson's metrics into this draft, like you could argue he might be one of the top quarterbacks, like one or two, based on his size, his arm strength, and everything that he kind of did. And look, I understand we got to see 20 games from Zach, and it was not very good. But I tend to lean with Green Bean on this one as far as I think he had the yips, and I think the physical traits, will he ever develop into the guy we hope he was going to wind up being? Maybe not. But sitting behind a quarterback in Aaron Rodgers for 2 years is probably, the best thing that could possibly happen to him. I would like to see the Jets kind of sit tight, go all in with Rodgers for the 2 years, and then I would like to see either a ride or die with Zach or some type of competition brought in with another vet and having the guys go at it at that point. Edward Ziff.
Ryan, real quick. You said 2 years with Rod. I mean, we've all like settled on Rodgers as a 1-year rental. Is that a negotiating smoke screen kind of a thing? Or do you think he's going to stay for 2 years? Or where do you stand on that one?
I think he's going to, regardless of well, I think he will be here for 2, yes. But I do think some of it is a negotiating tactic right now to make sure the Jets don't give up too much right now, because those are assets that could surround him with talent. But I do 100% think that Aaron Rodgers is going to take the same approach he's had the last few years, where it's I'm going to play year by year. And I do think he has every intention of playing that second year of the contract that he signed just last year. And I do think that him saying I want to go year by year is that little bit of leverage that he'll have over the Jets at that point to bring in players that he wants. If the Jets feel like he might move on, then maybe they won't, make some of the moves that they want. But I feel like he probably told the Jets, hey, look, if I'm going there, I'm not moving for 1 year. It's going to be 2 years. Let's finish this out. Heck, I think there's like an outside shot that it could be 3 years. I'm not necessarily I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility, but based on his current contract, I think he will play both years. I really do.
I love it. And I think the 1 year thing, it's kind of become this, it is within the vernacular, the 1 year rental, 1 year. That might be something the Jets put out there, man. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Well, I think Rodgers probably did too. I think he understands there's assets at stake here, and I'd much rather the Jets not give up these assets that could help me get to where I want to go. And but I also think he's also being honest. I think the year after year, hey, I'll revisit. I'm not going to make a commitment for 2024 until I see how 2023 goes. If we got, things going absolutely sideways and, reporters are ripping him and all this other stuff. And, he appears to be the problem, then maybe he's not coming back for another year. Matt, where do you kind of land on this? You think he's playing 2 years?
7. No, 2. No, I think it's 2. That has always kind of made the most sense to me. I don't know how much I buy he was 90% gonna retire. Maybe that, as you guys are kind of alluding to, negotiating tactic. I'd be surprised if he hung it up after 1 year. I think you're looking at a 2-year window with him.
Edward Ziff drops in, says, deal is imminent, just some fine details. My concern is don't mortgage the future too much with these expensive vets. We need a safety and linebacker. Who's your pick? So, yeah, I definitely don't want to mortgage any sort of future with these veteran guys. Anytime I see extra void years added on, there is a little bit of panic maybe. But I do think that I would err towards the side of hey, this is the price we have with our plan. We would love to have you here. We're not going to go over this price. Same thing. I would like to do that with Odell. I'd like to do that with Calais Campbell. Or Calais Campbell. I keep saying that name wrong. I would like to see us have a number and have the players want to come here for that number specifically. But yeah, I definitely don't want to mortgage the future with any sort of money going that way. As far as needing a safety and linebacker, who's my pick? I really would love to bring back Quan Alexander and then draft a linebacker to groom behind him for a year. At safety, there's a little bit of me that would love to see like a Kevin Byard come in from Tennessee. That would be a lot of fun. But I do like the second round potential of drafting a safety in that round. Like if it were me using the draft, I would say tackle in the first round. I would say center and safety with the next 2 picks, mainly because I do like the option of Calais Campbell at defensive tackle because I do think that is a big area of need. Greenbean, how do you feel about possibly mortgaging a little bit of the future with some of these veteran contracts? And if you had to decide on a safety or a linebacker, is there a direction you may want to go?
I'm sorry. We need to say, yeah. Well, here's the thing. I think Sherwood is the Quan backfill. I think Sherwood, look, he's been here 2 years. His rookie year got chopped up because of the Achilles, right? Like he got injured the first week or so, came back for 2 weeks, ruptured his Achilles. And then he, came back this year or 2022, and he's been a maniac. Right, like he's number 2 on special teams behind only Pro Bowler Hardy, and he's, whenever he came in for CJ Mosley, whatever, he literally made every tackle when he was on the field, and I think that they see that, man. Like this is what development of players actually looks like having a guy for 2-3 years, and then when a guy's like, hey, I want to get paid, they go, I will go get paid, and we already got your guy. This is what the Ravens and Steelers and Pats do. This is what they do. I think Sherwood is our answer at linebacker. He's not a perfect player yet. There's a few things that that he needs to work on, but overall, man, I think he's going to be excellent. I think he's going to be a fan favorite this year. Safety, scared as I am to say it, it's looking more and more to me like they really like themselves some Tony Adams, dude. That's what I think, guys. I think brace yourself for a Jordan Whitehead, Chuck Clark, Tony Adams type of situation with Ashton Davis, holding their cleats and stuff like that, holding their jocks, washing their underwear, stuff like that, So I think those 3 guys are going to be out front with Ashton Davis as the kind of specific guy that they need for certain situations. But I don't know. I thought they were going to go out and get a safety. We might see one in the draft, but I don't think they feel the same way, man. I think they're really comfortable with who they have. It's weird. We all thought Whitehead was gone, didn't we? He's here.
Yeah. Yeah, Matt, where do you land on the possibility of mortgaging a little bit of the future because of, bringing in some vets, and where would you go with safety and linebacker?
I hate the mortgaging the future argument. I don't think they're mortgaging the future. This is what you build up through the draft for opportunities like this. So I think now is actually the perfect time to start implementing some of your veterans in there. I agree. I would like to add a safety and a linebacker. I like Jamie Sherwood. I think he's a little bit small. I'm just a little bit worried with him being that number 3 guy this year. And if God forbid there's an injury to one of Mosley or Quincy, then you're like, all right, this kid's going to come in and he's going to be the guy. Maybe he can do it, but I think in a year where you're going for it, I would like a veteran there also. Safety, I don't love Jordan Whitehead. I think the Whitehead and Clark combination, they kind of are a little redundant, so I'd like more of your prototypical free safety. I don't think there's really one available in free agency anymore, so that is definitely something that I think you need to address in the draft. And like you said, one of the first 3 picks, so second or fourth round is probably where you're looking.
NY Jets 24 comes into the super chat, says, Green Bean, Matt, and Ryan, love the podcast. Does Joe Douglas get a contract extension next year if the Jets make the playoffs? I think as soon as he gets the Aaron Rodgers deal done, I would love to give him an extension. But yes, I do think it's after this season. I think if the Jets make the playoffs, he's 100% getting an extension. Was Salah on a 5-year deal? Does he have 2 years remaining? So Salah, they may wait an additional year on. But I would think if you're extending the GM, it would be nice to extend the head coach if you saw the growth out of your younger players and it wasn't just so heavily relied on maybe Aaron Rodgers. Matt, where do you fall on the contract negotiations maybe with Joe Douglas? And I'll throw Robert Saleh in there. You think they get extensions if the Jets make the playoffs?
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's the expectation. I think, for both of these guys to show that they're the real deal, they need to make the playoffs this year. I believe in both those guys. I think they do it. Joe Douglas has done a lot of things that I liked. Robert Saleh, I think, is trending in the right direction. And I think if they make the playoffs this year, and assuming Rodgers comes back, they make another run, hopefully win something in the next 2 years here, they should be the long-term answers. Yes.
Green Bean, where do you fall on the Joe Douglas, Robert Saleh extensions? You think Douglas gets an extension if we make the playoffs? What do you think happens with Saleh? What are your thoughts?
All right, I'm going to answer that for you, and I'm going to answer it the best that you've ever heard. But I want to announce something if I can.
Sure.
Teen Bean, as of today, just got locked into his first date ever with a girl.
Oh, let's
huge.
go, Teen Bean. I love it.
It's the best. He's like, Dad, I got a
that's
date.
cool.
So
Hell yeah, dude.
Congrats.
Dude,
Yeah,
Teen
I'm
Bean.
excited, man. Yep. I'm like, all right, we gotta talk. I gotta tell you, we got stuff. I got stuff to say.
There's these birds, there's these bees, these things happen, and
The good news is he already knows. Like I've been talking to him a lot, but now that it's real, I got it. Now that it's like applicable, I gotta say, all right, here's what you do. Here's what you got. Here's $5. You want to take her out to McDonald's, right? You want to get the fries.
get her a soda, no ice, none of that. No. You want the most amount of soda in the cup.
Ice is the mechanism of the man. You don't want the ice. So yeah, I mean, as far as Joe Douglas, I think you said it well. Look, if he gets the Rodgers thing done, a lot of people think it's Woody. It's not Woody. I'm sure Woody agrees with it and loves it and all that stuff. But if Joe Douglas didn't want it, it wouldn't be happening, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think Joe Douglas is well thought of by our ownership. He's clearly the most well put together, well respected, and effective general manager that we've had. Look, at least since Tanny. Can we at least buy that? I say ever, but when we say since Tanny. All right, so Woody knows that. He's been here the whole time since Tanny. So he knows the difference between Idzik and Joe Douglas. That said, I think you nailed it. He gets into the playoffs this year, and Joe Douglas is signed. Now, my only question would be, how long do they sign him for? Like 2 more years? Like he likes to. Woody likes to do that, 2-year extensions. Or does he say, Joe, 6 more years? You know what I mean? Does he do that?
Tack on 3. Make it another so it'll be after this year. He'll have a year remaining on his deal. I think, is that right? So I would go, hey, we want to give you a 3-year extension at the end of this year. So you're locked in for 24, 25, 26, 27. That gives Joe the security of knowing, hey, I'm going to either have Zach Wilson or I'm going to have my new quarterback after Aaron Rodgers. And I think that's the next step for him. I think it's life after Rodgers security.
Yeah, that's it. Right. I think that right. 3 years, I think, is good. I think 2 years is almost non-committal to a degree.
Yeah.
But I think 3 right. It's in the middle there. I think it shows some level of love, if you will. A little love.
A little Teen Bean love action. I love it over there. Matt,
Right.
How you feeling about Joe Douglas possibly getting a contract extension at the end of this year?
Well,
or did we talk about this
already?
Yeah, you did. I'm going back and forth.
That's okay.
You know what? It's been a long day. Joe Payne drops in. He says, can we please talk about the gaping hole at defensive tackle? Yeah, gaping hole we got to fill with some big fatties up front. I completely agree, Joe Payne. JP Jets, I want to jump over to you. You throw in a $10 super chat. Thank you, kind sir or lady, whoever you are. Much appreciated. No, we lost Matt. What happened to Matt? He'll hop back in. JP Jets says, I'm sitting tight and have full confidence in our GM, but what are your thoughts on who will be our pass rush on the team presently or draft free agent signing? So I do think all our pass rushers are currently on the roster right now. I think, Jermaine Johnson, Michael Clemens, John Franklin Myers are locks to be here. And then the 2 that are kind of interesting for me, Carl Lawson seems like a safer lock to be here than Bryce Huff. Greenbean, do you feel that way as well? Because the way Carl Lawson was talked about by Robert Saleh, like they did mention Corey Davis, but like it felt like Saleh was 100% on the Carl Lawson train. I don't know if that was head coach speak, but like it's like I would love to lock in Lawson for 2 more years. But for me, the biggest issue with Lawson is my issue with Lawson is more so the like him kind of log jamming the positions for the young guys. But if there's a situation where like you hit Bryce Huff with the 2nd round tender because you were hoping to get a 2nd round pick for him if someone bites and you wanted to hold on to Lawson, like it almost feels like they're kind of trying to bait someone to take Bryce Huff away.
We talked about this a couple weeks ago, and I see where you're coming from. And in my off-season like plan for the Jets, I did say a 1st round tender because it was only 6. I think getting what Huff can do for $6 million, I still think is a deal. But I do think it's more along the lines of because don't forget the Jets with that 2nd round tender also get right of first refusal. They can match. So if somebody comes in and says, "We'll give him $6 million," you go, well, I'll pay him $6 million. You know what I mean? Maybe they're willing to pay him up to $7.9 million or whatever. So I don't think it's a bait so much. I think it's an opportunity to save that $2 million, and that is needed this year. You know what I mean? It's one of those tight years. I just think Joe Douglas is playing. I think he's just including all the variables. But I do think when you're right, like Robert Saleh, dude, he didn't leave you any room for questions about their thoughts on Carl Lawson. I don't think he would have said that. And leave himself open for a right hook when Joe Douglas trades him or cuts him in 3 days. I think they know. He said it very distinctly. He said pass rushers don't grow on trees, and we're going to keep Carl Lawson until he can't walk. Right? Is what he said. He'll be here until he can't walk. So, but I'm with you, dude. Like, okay, so if that's the case, why not take that 15.5, spread it over 3 years? And keep his numbers similar. You know what I mean? Make maybe 13 and 13 for the next 2 years. It's still 15 this year. Parlay it into a bonus and get his cap number down to 6. And of course, my numbers are completely hypotheticals. I can't even count. Right? So I don't know.
Well, what about the idea of Lawson? Like I could see a situation where the Jets approach Lawson and they say, "Hey, look, we love you. We want you here." That was the support that Robert Saleh threw at the reporters just yesterday. And they say, "Hey, Carl, you got $15 million coming to you if you stay on the roster this year. Let's keep you for the 2 Super Bowl years. We could talk about it after that. Let's give you the same $15 million. Look, we didn't get anything from you the first year. Would you take the $15 million fully guaranteed over the next 2 years? And like you said, maybe throw in some escalators, like, hey, you hit a certain amount of sacks or something like that, like we expect you to, then, that increases the value of that contract." I really like that a lot. Oh, hey, what's up, Matt? How you doing?
Good. I don't know what happened. My it just said lost connection, and I had to restart my computer and then unplug in my camera and plug it back in. So we're back. But that was annoying. Sorry, guys.
That's all right. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's great. Greenbean and I just gave our thoughts on Carl Lawson and our pass rushers. So I want to get your thoughts on this. How do you feel about the Jets pass rushers, and who do you think will be on the team, and how do you see it kind of working out? Because we heard Robert Saleh yesterday give a huge vote of confidence for Carl Lawson, and I made the comment about Bryce Huff, like you tag him with the 2nd round tender, you're almost trying to like hope. I don't want to say hope someone, nabs him away for the 2nd round pick, but it feels like they're far more confident in Lawson being here than, maybe where it could ultimately end up being.
Yeah, I am a big Carl Lawson fan. I know he didn't have a monster year. I thought he was fine, but they obviously really like him. It adds a lot of depth to that room because, Michael Clemens and I think Jermaine Johnson both flashed as a rookie, and they should be getting better. Bryce Huff, I think he's going to be here, and I don't think they're ready to play him every down yet. I think they want to keep him in that situational pass rusher role. The only spot with the pass rush I'm worried about is on the interior, because outside of Quinnen, it's pretty much just Solomon Thomas. And he wasn't very good at all last year for the Jets. He's undersized. He got pushed around a little bit. They lost Rankins. They lost Nathan Shepard also. You got to add more there. This is probably a draft and sign one part if you're the New York Jets here with that position.
Yeah, I tend to agree, especially on the interior side of things. I hadn't really considered that because, yeah, Quinnen is very much your interior pass rush guy. I do think there's a situation where the Jets are aware maybe to hold on to the edge rushers because John Franklin Myers may be forced to kick back inside and have that potential option. Let's say Quinnen does go down with, maybe he's out for a game or two or something like that. They can kick John Franklin Myers inside, be that pass rush presence while still having Huff and Clemens and Jermaine Johnson and Lawson. I think the Jets are being smarter than I would have given. I don't want to say given credit for, but I would have thought they'd move on because of just the cap hit overall. So I'm glad. I'm glad to see some thought processes that are including Carl Lawson in the longer term, 2 years or whatever. Michael drops in a super chat. He says, "Hey guys, pinch me. Players wanting to come play for the Jets. Let's go, let's go." Yeah, right. We heard about it yesterday. Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh both making comments about how the culture has changed so much over the course of the last 2 years of Robert Saleh being here. And it was, I think it was brought up to Douglas where they said, how does it make you feel that someone of Aaron Rodgers' caliber wants to play for the Jets? And Saleh came out and said that's a testament to the culture that Robert Saleh built. It's a testament to the Johnsons and everything they've done to be supportive of the team and the franchise. And I love it. I think the culture is definitely changing. Matt, is there someone that you've seen in the last, let's call it 2.5 years since Saleh has been here, that you have been happy? I don't want to say happy. I guess happy, but like that we've attracted that you felt like maybe we wouldn't have been able to attract in the past. I have one. I have more than one, but I have one in mind that's jumping out at me.
A player, you're saying?
Yep. Yeah, that wanted to come here because players wanting to come play for the Jets. We heard last year Robert Saleh saying, we didn't overpay for anyone. We wanted guys that wanted to be here, and then we worked on a contract with them after that point.
I think Kwan and DJ are the ones that stand out the most to me. I think those two on the defensive side of the ball. But, I mean, the offensive guys love him too. He's just I don't know. He's very down to earth. He comes off as relatable. And when you compare it to the last few coaches, I mean, Todd Bowles had the personality of a rock, and Adam Gase was maybe the most toxic coach in human history. So it couldn't have gotten any worse.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going to go. DJ Reed was the one that stuck out to me, where it's like, okay, this guy's like a top 10 corner, and like he's choosing to come here. Like, all right, okay, that's cool. I like this. Quan was a good example of one. I think Laken Tomlinson was the other one, but I don't know if that was so much Saleh as much as it might have been Benton last year. But yeah, I agree. I think the players do really love playing for Robert Saleh, and just having players be attracted to this location is awesome. Greenbean, is there a player that you've seen over the course of the last few years? You can't say Aaron Rodgers, but players that want to come here that you've kind of seen the Jets acquire that maybe we wouldn't have had a shot at in the past.
Well, I just love what Matt said about Adam Gase. I think that is probably the best. Toxic. It's not just that he was inept. It's not just that he's a butthole. It's not just that he was clearly on numerous amphetamines and all that sort of stuff. He was toxic. That's the greatest way to say it. I think the attraction of Robert Saleh is more than just the players that he has experience with. You know what I mean? Like you said, like I think Laken, it might have been John Benton, right? I think that's a very astute observation. Because that was his coach for the last 5 years or whatever it was, literally positions. So there's that. But I think Robert Saleh has a great reputation around the league. It's not just, it's not just with guys that he's met before. Like the word is out. Like he's a good dude that everybody loves. I mean, remember 𝐒'𝐿𝐿, who didn't play for his side of the ball, said that Robert Saleh would speak to the team and he would want to, quote, smash his head through the desk when Robert Saleh was done speaking. I mean, that stuff spreads, man. His reputation is out there. Then you look at all these players, the Sauce Gardners, the Garrett Wilsons and Breece Halls, burning, cheese heads, and the way that they're just out there, man. They're telling the world like this is a whole different team. And we said it last year. these young guys, they don't know they're supposed to suck. So it's more than Robert Saleh that's attracting everybody, in my opinion. But I think he's a major piece of it. Like the Jets clearly were a well-run team. Sure, we collapsed last year, totally. But during that collapse was 6 one-score losses. You know what I mean? Complete, like the worst quarterback play in the entire NFL and losing by 1 score, in these games with teams we technically shouldn't be in the game with. We were beating up everybody, dude. We were holding some teams to no touchdown offensively, and they would win at the last second, like the Patriots game or whatever. I think there's a lot going on. I think the ripples through the NFL are out there. And let me be bold and tell you guys, the NFL at large and the media, the national media at large, loves this shit. The Jets are the biggest thing in the NFL, and the whole league is waiting for us to be there. Everybody wants to be a part of it because they know if you win with the Jets, our fans are ridiculous. We're going to give you the biggest everything, the biggest parade, the biggest come-ups, the biggest congratulations. Everything's bigger here, and now that it's on, it's on.
I love it. I love it. I wanted to bring up something before, and when we were talking about the Denzel Mims stuff, and it just clicked for me. Did any of you guys see CJ Uzama's tweet from earlier today? Anyone know of any food poisoning remedies? Yeah. And I just started laughing. I was like, I hope he didn't have the salmon. He said, anyone know any food poisoning remedies 4 hours ago? And I just kind of laughed. I was like, I hope he didn't have any salmon at the Jets facility.
Oh, tell me about it. No, I didn't see that. That's scary.
For those of you guys that don't know what I'm talking about right here, Denzel Mims, what was it, 2 years ago, I think, had food poisoning at the Jets facility from eating bad salmon, and he wound up getting screwed. Missed a bunch of OTAs in, I think it was June at the time. But yeah, just funny stuff. Jet Strong 1273. Thank you so much for the super chat. I didn't see a comment associated with it, but thank you all the same. BSK comes in with super chat, says Zach is trash. Need to move on. Stop wasting a roster spot on him. BSK, I completely understand Zach being trash right now. Like there's no other way for me to spice it up, but I would not move on from him. I think his metrics are so astronomically high, and you're banking on Rodgers playing the entire season. Like if a backup quarterback has to come in and play for the New York Jets, no matter who that backup quarterback is, I don't think the Jets are going a whole heck of a lot further. They're very few and far between. Do you have usually the backup quarterback on a team is good if the starter is shaky, like there's an issue with their health or something along those lines, or they're young and unproven. Like if Rodgers comes in, we're not gonna have any type of really strong backup. Like in my opinion, the backup that I feel like the Jets will try to bring in. Now, if I'm talking my way through this, I'm thinking, okay, I want Rodgers to play every single game, but I don't want him to necessarily play a bunch of preseason snaps or a bunch of reps in training camp necessarily. But I want someone to compete with Zach. I want someone to push Zach. But I also want to make sure it's someone that I can cut, so that way I'm not having a third quarterback on the roster. But I want to have the option to get that guy at some point in the season. Like, I don't want someone to snatch him away. And now when I start talking that through like that, I'm thinking, okay, we're going to wind up with Blake Bortles as our backup quarterback at some point. I think it happens in training camp. And then he winds up getting cut before week 1. And then, God forbid, something happens. Maybe you have him and Zach at the end. But either way, if you wind up needing a backup quarterback, you're not going to go very far. So I would much rather invest that spot in Zach Wilson and his ridiculously high upside, and just hope that it works, at some point after the Rodgers experiment. I think you have far more upside with Zach coming in than, a run-of-the-mill backup, in my opinion. Green Bean, where do you fall on the Zach is trash, need to move on from him? Is he wasting a roster spot here with us?
Nah, I'm not there. And again, I'll reiterate, and you guys will remember, I wasn't a big fanboy of Zach. I supported it. I'm good. I didn't hate him or anything. But here he is, right? He's shown us some serious flashes, right? He's got elite escapability. I mean, he ended up making it ridiculous escapability. We ran, 24 yards backwards. So something's wrong, man. No quarterback runs 24 yards backwards. Like something's wrong, right? So I'm of the thought that he's under contract. He's more expensive to cut than keep. He's got more skills than most of these quarterbacks you're going to find in the mid to late rounds. that you're going to, quote, develop. Like, he's got more than those guys. Let's be real. He's got a stronger arm. When he's on, he's got more than them. Let him take the roster spot. Let him, an established and successful quarterback developer, Nathaniel Hackett, come in here and behind a guy that happens to like Zach Wilson. They're actually friends. They talk. Let him have the year, dude. Because if you're going to develop what's the hope with a developmental quarterback? That he has the skills to develop, that you can develop him into the role where he can contribute to the team. We already know Zach can contribute. He's got the yips. It's very hard to undo, and they might fail. But I firmly support doing it. I just hate having him as our number 2. That's where I disagree. I think if you really want to develop him, push him back to 3. Don't even let him go, oh, my God, I hope they don't call me in there. Oh, my God, he's hurt. Oh, my God.
Well, if that's happening, you got to not pull the plug, but you got to, like, really shelve him. I hope that's not where his head's at.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, he's probably not showing that. He's probably going, I'm good. But in his head, he's like, oh no, don't hit it to me. Don't hit it to me. You remember that Adam Sandler skit? He's like, all right, this data sucks. And then he hits it. He's like, oh my God, please don't hit it to me. Please don't hit it to me. Remember that one?
Yeah. I never saw the skit, but I can see Adam Sandler doing that. Matt, how do you feel about the Zach Wilson taking up a roster spot for us?
I don't think it's worth it to just move on for him for nothing or take some like Mickey Mouse trade package to get him off the roster. I think you're better off redshirting him, like Green Bean was saying. I think getting another veteran in here, Chris Stevler, someone who could throw the ball, would be beneficial as a backup, and just like really try to make this work with Zach, but we'll see.
So I don't know if it's been reported anywhere, but I do know someone within the walls of One Jets Drive that was telling me that the Zach and Rodgers have been in contact, and Rodgers is trying to get Zach to, I guess, do his Jets West camp again and have the receivers out there. I love that. I love that him and Rodgers have been talking. I think that just sort of wants me to hold on to the hope of Rodgers, regardless of how long this trade winds up taking. Like, if it has to go all the way to week 1, like, honestly, we had Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco, and Mike White last year. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers, with no practice whatsoever, coming into an offense he knows, with some receivers that he does know, would still, at the very least, perform better than what we got out of all our quarterbacks last year. And so what if it takes half a season for him to start clicking? We lean on Breece Hall and all those other guys. But yeah, just, little nugget that I heard throughout there. So I'm happy to hear Zach and Aaron are at least conversating. The main catch says, way to go, Teen Bean. And then Randy drops in and says, shout out to Teen Green Bean. Love it. You got to make sure, I guess you don't cover your beans, but you got to be careful with your beans. Maybe not at that age. That age, you got a little bit of time.
That's right. I hope. You got to take care of the beans.
Keith drops in and says, Becton, good God, looks like a stud. All pro incoming. Dude, Becton is putting in a ton of work, and he looks like he's excited, and he's like enthusiastic. Like, this seems far more motivated than I've seen him in the last little bit here, and I think it's probably because he has that looming 5th-year option, and he's hoping that we're going to exercise that option. But yeah, dude, I hope Becton is our left tackle of the future, or just a tackle of the future. It doesn't have to be left tackle. I'm sure right tackle's fine too. But I'm still torn as to what they do with the 5th-year option. Like, if there's a situation where maybe they don't take the tackle at 13, then maybe they're leaning more so with exercising the option. But I just don't know how you could possibly do that. I can't feel comfortable relying on Becton, regardless of how good he looks right now. Matt, do you kind of feel the same way as far as, Becton looks great right now, but is it really making you want to rely on him?
No, not at all. I'm extremely happy for him, and I hope for all the best. I hope he gets a starting opportunity. I hope he stays healthy, but the reality is he hasn't played, man. Like, I'm glad he's in great shape, but even if he is healthy, what's the rust going to be look like? He hasn't played in a game in years, so it's incredibly risky to say like, oh yeah, that's left tackle one. We don't have to worry about anything. I don't buy that.
Guys, it is 9:30. We're whizzing right along here tonight. For every 25 likes we get on this video, we're going to pick a t-shirt qualifier for our t-shirt giveaway at the end of this stream. And all you got to do is hit that little like button, or as Green Bean says, milk thumbs. Hit that like button. I love that. I got to create a milk thumbs like animation or something like that. I don't know how you do it, but I'll figure out
Working
something.
on an emoji.
Yeah. Gotta do it. But yeah, guys, hit that like button. We got like 760 people in here, and we don't even have 300 likes. So if you enjoy like what we're talking about, if you're passively listen, just give a little boop. We'd love it. We'd absolutely love it.
It's the easiest thing you can do in the world. There's nothing easier.
Doesn't cost you anything except
Hey,
a little. See, look, Green Bean's a qualifier. Look at that guy. He's amazing.
Yay!
Citybert drops in, says, no matter what happens with Aaron Rodgers, remember we had our best years after Favre left with back-to-back AFC championship games. Crazy to think about that looking back. Yeah, Citybert, imagine if you had Favre instead of Sanchez for those 2 years. That first Sanchez year, the Jets probably win a Super Bowl, the way Favre absolutely went off. Now, maybe he doesn't have the same type of juice that he did by going, to Minnesota and going against the Vikings, and that Minnesota team was loaded. But I'm for all the people that are saying like, oh yeah, I don't want to duplicate the Favre experiment. Remember how that went? Like, I do remember how it went, and just like Citybert said, we went to back-to-back AFC Championship games, and I think Rodgers is 10 times the quarterback that Brett Favre is right now. I really do. Green Bean, how you feeling about, obviously we went to 2 back-to-back championship games with after Favre. Are you feeling it might be something similar here or something along those lines?
Yeah. All right. Well, let me break this down for a second. Humor me. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Now,
yeah, go for it.
I'm going to use this. Now, number one, I agree with what was just said. Could you imagine having Brett Favre, the Brett Favre that was in Minnesota with our team, with that team? Okay.
Filthy.
It's like, dude, we rule the NFL, dude. Rule it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, here's why Joe Douglas is a better general manager than the last general manager that was worth a shit, which is Mike Tannenbaum, right? Now, Mike Tannenbaum was an accountant, but this is the thing. Mike Tannenbaum traded for Brett Favre. He got a good trade, got him for a fourth, which was chump change, right? Nice, well done.
Mm-hmm.
But then he lets Chad Pennington go. What does Chad Pennington do? He goes to the Miami Dolphins, wins the division, okay? Beats us, wins the division. Then Brett Favre tears his bicep and the whole thing. What does he do? He lets him go. He goes to the Vikings, goes to the NFC Championship game and everything else. So Tannenbaum didn't know how to get value, right? He didn't know how to do that. He's like, well, Chad's a good dude and that guy, whatever, I like him. And he does that. He did the same thing with Mark Sanchez. When he went for Peyton Manning, when Peyton Manning did his little tour, when the Colts let him go, he asked to meet with Peyton Manning. It got public, and Peyton Manning said, no, I don't want to go to the Jets. So then Tannenbaum, what did he do 2 weeks later? Anybody remember? He gave Mark Sanchez
contract.
a completely unnecessary extension for no reason. He just gave him more money because why? He felt bad for him. Mark was insulted. So he gave him an unnecessary extension, which, by the way, a couple years later was a burden to us. Okay. That's what 𝐒𝐿ZIC had to clean that, by the way. But so anyway, this is one of those examples where, yes, if we just kept him, there was no reason to let him go. No reason to let Favre go. He was under contract with us. All we had to do is say, no, you stay here, or if you retire, whatever the whole thing, then we get picks or whatever. He didn't do that. Same thing with Pennington. He should have sent him to the Seahawks. You know what I mean? Something like that. He could have got a fifth for him. Who cares? Get something and get him the hell out of the division. This is one of the things when you look at a real GM, they know how to navigate through that stuff. They can see what's coming. They can see value. And Joe Douglas does that. So it's another example, another opportunity for us to look at just how mismanaged this team was and how we've had to pay the price and eat the shit sandwich that our general managers make when Joe Douglas, you look at Elijah Moore, he doesn't want to be here, blah, 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 yeah, bust. Yeah, well, okay, well, let me get a third for him. Instead of letting him stay here and pollute the water or just letting him go, no. he flipped him for a pick that's now pick 42 that he's going to use to get a 4-time MVP quarterback.
Andy Rodriguez drops in, says, for what it's worth, Woody posted a Huff highlight tweet today. I did not know that. Let's see which one he posted over there. Mr. Woody Johnson.
The sack or the forced fumble on Allen.
Oh, so good. So good. Oh, yeah, there it is. Oh, yeah. So I guess the rationale for Huff only being the situational pass rusher is just he goes so wide so fast that it's easy on those like running downs to just, hand it inside, go in between the guard and tackle, and you've got a first down, or you got like an opening there because he's so fast and quick around the edge. But yeah, dude, I love me some Huff. Would love to see him stay. The big fellas comes in, says, Gase was co-tight 2.0. I see a big need at middle linebacker. Nasir Al-Din is not adequate depth for Mosley. Excited to see Chuck Clark not against Nolan Smith at 13. Yeah, Nolan Smith is like one of those guys that I like. I feel like I fall for like a Georgia player each year. Last year it was Pickens and Nakobe Dean. But Nolan Smith is definitely up there for me. I just don't know how he fits in because I just don't see him in like the Mosley role. I don't. And Matt, I saw you kind of shake your head a little bit. What's your thoughts? Hey, Jake Asman's in the chat. He says, hello, FM. We meet again.
Oh, that's so good.
For those of you that don't know, Jake Asman has banned FM to the Shadow Realm for life.
For life.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. Very funny. Good to have you in here, Jake. But yeah, let me scroll back up to that. So Matt, how do you feel about Nolan Smith?
Scares the shit out of me, man. Did you see his spider chart? It is
I didn't see, oh, now I got to pull it up. It's like small, right? It's a size thing.
It's insane. Like 10-yard split, right. 40. Yeah, want me to send the link in the guest chat here over here? Does that help you at all?
Yeah, if you got it, I could try to throw it up too.
I don't want to do it injustice by talking about how crazy it is. I think we need to visually see this because it is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in all my years of doing draft content.
Wow! Oh, I have seen this. I did. I looked at this the other day. Now that I see it, I didn't realize that was
insane.
Hold on. Let me pull it up. Give me just a second. Okay, where's my little? Okay, well, this one's just me for some reason. So sorry. I'll add you guys in just a second. But let me pull this up. Google Chrome. Nolan Smith. And then boom. Green bean is hidden behind me. Look at this spider chart.
It's insane.
Look at that. That's the most absurd spider chart I've ever seen.
Very undersized. Great athleticism. I've never seen anything like this. I don't know. Like I can't
what he's good
take
at.
that.
What he's good
I can't
at, though,
take.
huh?
I know, but I can't take that in the top 15 and be like, okay, I'm willing to take the risk on a crazy small outlier.
That's
in
fair.
Size. But athleticism, insane athleticism. But size is such a crazy outlier. He could turn out great, but that is a massive boomer bust player that I am not personally willing to take the swing on at 13.
Dude, I definitely didn't realize it was that drastic. I don't think you can take that type of swing. It's almost like it's the same sort of swing to an extent that I said with the Panthers trading up to 1. It's like you don't jump up for the 5'10", Bryce Young. You're going up there for a Stroud or an Anthony Richardson. You're going more on like the stereotypical metrics and you're hoping for the projected upside. When you have such drastically low percentiles in height, weight, arm length, hand size, like there's a reason why those guys are not necessarily panning out in the NFL. And that is certainly concerning because look, 10-yard split, 40-yard dash, vertical jump, broad jump. That's me. When I in high school, I could have aced like all those, but I'm not a good football player. Greenbean, how you feeling about this spider chart here?
It's a great point, dude. Right? Like, this is the thing. Like, obviously, athleticism is vitally important, right? We're not going to minimize it. And look at what he does. It's madness. Okay, this is the funniest thing I've seen in a long time. Vertical jump, that's great. How many times does he need to? I mean, we know what the jumps mean, right? We know the broad jump. We know what it means. It's lower body strength and all that. We know it. But how often are you going to need to jump fucking 10 feet in the NFL, right? So we know that that's like all right, 10-yard split, that's great. All right, he can cover short distances very, very quick. That's very applicable. 40-yard dash, of course, as in the linebacker position, is very applicable. And again, lower body strength, which is the vertical and the broad jump, is very applicable. But other things like arm length, height, weight, and hand size are very, very important. Okay, he has none. It's almost as if he's got little tiny baby hands or something like that. I never seen
he's
like
he's
that.
got the guy that holds the Whopper in that commercial. My hands are too little to hold a Whopper.
What was the Deadpool? Remember when he got his arm chopped off and he was rubbing the
Yep.
lady? Fucking Nolan Smith. He's running around. But it's like, I don't know. Look, every year there's a guy who blows the doors off the combine, right? And it's not to say that those guys can't, end up in the NFL and they can't translate, right? That's not what we're saying. But there are guys who blow the doors off the combine with athleticism. There's always a team that goes, wow, and they trade up to get him, and then he sucks. And that's just it, and that's like Nolan Smith is this year's version of that. Now, again, I'm not saying he's not going to pick. Matt nailed it. I have a big problem using the 13th overall pick on that part right there. That's
correct.
Well, and especially because you assume the 4 quarterbacks are going in front of you. There's a real good shot 2 corners go in front of you. So now you're talking 6 players at positions you don't necessarily give a hoot about. And now if 6 players go in front of you, that's a top 7 player, and you're going to risk it on this kind of metrics. I don't think you could make it at pick 13. No, I think I'm in agreement with you guys here. That's crazy. I didn't realize it was that drastic. That's pretty funny.
Pick 74. All right.
74. Totally different conversation. But wasn't Nolan Smith talked about as like a top 10 pick at one point, like prior to his injury? Like I could have sworn that's what they were talking about at one point, or like early first. But I don't even think I saw him in the most recent Tankathon top, like first round. Let me see.
He's gonna go. Someone's gonna take the upside and the athleticism, and again, I understand it. I get it. That size at edge, and he was hurt last year. Like, does injuries not also play a factor, or size not play a factor in injury? Like, he's not gonna be able to just run around everyone at the next level. I don't know.
So Tankathon has him going 24 to the Jaguars right now.
Okay.
I guess tail end of the first round. That's where you start taking swings on guys, right?
It makes more sense. It does. No, I don't think the Jaguars will do that. The Jaguars have needs. They're better, but I don't think they're going to do that. But that makes a ton more sense. It's funny. Like, so we did this already. We did a swing at a guy similar to this. That's Darren Lee. Now, Darren Lee had the broad jump, he had the vertical, he had all that stuff, but he had significantly better. I mean, his hands were clearly bigger than fucking Nolan Smith. I never seen anything like it.
Little baby hands.
But Darren Lee had the weight and the height like really low, like a bottom 5 percentile kind of thing. He was technically weak, like with the upper body, had super really good lower body, but it was his speed and athleticism that we fell in love with Darren Lee, and we called him potentially the best coverage linebacker. You know what that means? He can't play linebacker. And we saw it. He had mediocre years with tons of, quote, upside, and he never panned out. Gase traded him the second Mike McCagnon was fired. He took his first-round pick and traded him for a 6th. A year later, he was cut from the Chiefs, and he's been out of the NFL since. That's what we're looking at with Nolan Smith, in my opinion. I hope it doesn't. I hope he changes, and is able to flip that and make good. We've seen this 1,000 times.
Big Fella drops in with a follow-up to his question. He says, but you're comparing him to an edge. With Smith's athleticism, he can be Quan's replacement. So, Matt, do you feel similarly about that? Like maybe not on the edge side of things. Maybe this is because this is measurables, percentiles versus edge defenders.
That's what he plays.
Sure, but I think what he's saying is he might be able to transition
So
to like a
what I'm-
Quan-esque role.
the
But I
big
don't know if you
fella
want to
didn't-
necessarily use a 13 overall pick on a guy to
Yes!
switch
You want-
switch
You
positions.
want to use a top 15 pick and then change his position? Come on.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
I know. What are we talking about? Right. Well said, Matt. Right.
Fair
That's
enough.
what we want to do. Hey, this quarterback, I really think he'd be a good defensive end.
See, I see where big fella's going, but I understand.
course. We
I
all
think
do.
at
We're
pick
playing.
13, it's tough to move a guy to a different position at that point. Matthew Lakers comes in and says Hendon Hooker if he's there in the third or fourth. So the Jets would have to either trade down or somehow acquire another third. But I would say no. I'm not taking any quarterback. Definitely not this draft. Maybe you convince me next draft, like in the mid to late rounds. But yeah, I'm a no-go on Hendon Hooker. Matt, your thoughts?
I've been no-go for a long time, and now people are talking about him going in the first. Absolutely freaking not. No. No, thank you.
Ooh, Green Bean, Hendon Hooker, yes or no?
No.
Jet Strong comes in with Super Chat, says Hackett, a real offensive coordinator, will fix Zach easily and also incorporate his skills into the game plan. Yeah, I do agree. I think there's a large difference between Nathaniel Hackett calling plays and running an offense versus first-time offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur doing that. We saw how many players like just appear to have great physical gifts and great talents that were put in a box and told, hey, you have to try and fit this little very specific thing that we're doing because my offense works. Like, I think hearing Jamal Williams and Aaron Rodgers and all these guys talk about the fun that Nathaniel Hackett provides to the offense, I completely agree. I do think Zach is going to look better under Hackett. I think it'll make fans feel a lot better. Like if let's say Rodgers doesn't play in the preseason, like it doesn't seem like he may have to at all, but let's say he doesn't play in the preseason and Zach starts to look really good in the preseason. You're like, oh, wow, okay, this is like, now we're starting to feel kind of confident. That's going to make us feel real good. Remember, we got a year in this system to kind of see how it all pans out. Green Bean, what are your thoughts on Hackett making Zach look better?
What? Hackett and Zach? Yeah. I think it's going to be great. I mean, look, we've talked about this a couple times, and by a couple, I mean over 100 times since, this regime was brought in. But we know that the passing of Greg Knapp left this organization in a lurch, right? We had Greg Knapp. Greg Knapp was responsible for Zach Wilson. Steve Young, Peyton Manning, they all came out and said, dude, Zach Wilson could not be in better hands than Greg Knapp. He's the man. All right. He died, and we were left with first-time quarterback coach Rob Calabrese, first-time offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur, and a big fat offensive line coach who had a lot of problems to deal with. All right. So that's what we had. And it didn't work, man. They tried to bring in Kavanaugh. That was good. He settled Zach down the second half of the season. Clearly, him and LaFleur weren't getting along by the comment. We needed less voices in the room. Okay. That's a nice way to say him and LaFleur hated each other. So Kavanaugh was gone, and we saw it, man. We saw what happened. So I would say not a lot of look, LaFleur didn't throw 3-yard dirt balls, right? Zach did that. But at the same time, LaFleur didn't know how to take that, catch it before it becomes systemic and correct it. He didn't know how to do that. He was too busy working on the schemes and and Elijah Moore was banging on his door yelling, "You suck!" and he had to do with all that shit, So he couldn't focus on him. And Calabrese is like, dude, I'm a quality coach. I don't even know what the hell's going on. You know what I mean? So this is what we were dealing with. The fact that they pushed those guys out and they're bringing in experienced guys, I think is best case scenario for Zach. Will it work? Time will tell. I think it's got a legitimate shot, and I think Hackett's the guy to do it.
Mr. Downtown says, Green Bean, when do you stop count, or when do free agents stop counting towards comp picks? Does it? I don't know if it does until like the training camp.
It's May. I think it's May 23rd, maybe. But hold on, let me look.
Interesting. So if it's May 23rd, that means the Jets could wait to sign some of these free agents that do want to come over with Rodgers until that point. There's really no rush. That could be part of the reason why the Jets are like, hey, we're cool with waiting on this whole Rodgers deal. I think part of why Douglas and Saleh are waiting is because of that $60 million bonus. And if the Packers renegotiate it after June 1st and then they trade him, that bonus is going to accelerate to hit their cap. So maybe it's like $10 million, $20 million that we're trying to get the Packers to eat, and they can do it after that point. But the comp pick formula and when that stops is very interesting. Did you find that, Green Bean?
I should have wrote this down. I'm really sorry. I'll get you the answer, Ryan, and you guys can keep talking. I'll get you the answer.
All good, all good. If someone in the chat knows it too, you guys can throw it out there. JD Grant comes in with a super chat. Thank you, dude. He says, you don't defend your first round pick that hard to take a flyer with it. You don't defend your first round pick that hard to take a flyer with it. I'm not sure. I think you're talking about Nolan Smith, or are you talking about Zach Wilson? I think I'm a little perplexed, JD. If you're saying you don't defend your first round pick that hard, JD, let me follow that up. Oh, he's talking about Smith. He's talking about Nolan Smith.
Oh, okay. Then yes, agree. Yes.
So yeah, you don't defend your. Yeah, no, I don't think you'd take a flyer on someone with the metrics that he has. I agree, JD. I think that makes a lot of sense. Gilbert Gonzalez drops in. He had one of those little down arrows pointing. Thank you so much. I wish it allowed me to show that on the screen here, but I didn't see another comment associated with it. So I'm just going to say thank you. And if I see something, let me see if I'll scroll up, see if I could find anything. I don't see anything. All right. So thank you all the same. We have reached the end of our show here. We've got just 4 minutes left. Ooh, Green Bean, did you happen to write down super chat names by chance?
I did, but I need 2 more minutes. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you take your time. Boys and girls, you can hit that like button. For every 25 likes, we're going to pick a qualifier for our t-shirt giveaway that we're going to be doing in just like 2 minutes time. So make sure you hit that like button. You might get qualified. Then I'll send you out a shirt. Not to mention we got 700 people in here. We don't even have 400 likes. A little bit of a kick in the pants. Milk thumbs. Like when I hear milk thumbs, I'm thinking like chest or cow. And I was like, I don't want to see the down milk thumbs. I want the happy milk thumbs.
Right. That's the
sound does it for me. When you start that like I'm gonna fall out of my chair.
All right, there it is.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing.
All right, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 300. Hold on, 3. Okay, it's so crazy because I'm on top of this, but now I got to get 4 more. So hold on.
So we need 16 total, if my math is correct.
Yeah, 4 times 4 is 16.
I had to do that with my head. my brain math.
You're good like that. I don't know.
I didn't have the calculator here. I was like, oh geez.
Counting on my fingers.
I'm like, I have my shoes off right now. I'm using my toes. It's a whole mess over here. They're not painted yet. They might be painted at some point. Oh, by the way, boys and girls, if you are a member of the channel, at 10:30 tonight, I'll be doing my 10 o'clock mock for members only. We're going to be doing a mock draft surrounding the Jets draft class now that Elijah Moore has been moved. Last week we did the Aaron Rodgers trade and what we thought, that would be worth. But we'll have a little bit of a conversation after this stream, and we'll do some member mock draft action. It was fun last week. So if you guys want to be a part of that, don't forget that I just posted the link to the actual stream before this came on. I forgot to post it before that, but.
And for all non-members, yes, I'm a glutton for punishment, and I'm exhausted and haven't slept in days, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a 10:30 show.
Yes.
There it is, Green Bean, the after hours Jet Fest.
All right, I need 1 more. Hold on here. We're going to do it.
Go for it. Oh, no, Matt disappeared.
Where'd he go?
Oh, he's coming back. There he is.
No thumbs, Mac.
There he goes.
Did it again. What the hell is this shit?
Matt is back. Back again. Matt is back.
Matt is back.
Tell a friend. Matt is back. Matt is back. Matt is back. Just get the whole... Wait, Green Bean, let's see if we can do it at the same time. Oh, wait,
hold
wrong.
on. I got to get over to the thing. What are you doing? Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to sync it up. It's not working. Bobblehead Bean.
I'm lagging.
I can't get it to sync.
Holy shit.
Oh, Jesus
All right,
Christmas.
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm ready to go.
All right, ready to go. Do we want to do a number? How many names you got there? Like, what are we trying to do? Odds or evens? We trying to do some.
Oh, you know what? I need one more because they just passed 25. Hold on. All right, let's see who the last qualifier is. This is it. Let's see who it is. I hope it's Green Bean. Paris. You're the final qualifier.
All right.
Paris is a good one.
How many qualifiers we got total? Let's do a little random number action. I kind of like this, so that way everyone can see it.
I do too.
Wait. 17.
17. That feels wrong. There's no way.
No.
425.
It is.
What? 400 is 16. 425 is 17, dude.
Did you write down the super chats that we asked?
No.
Oh, sorry. I asked you before. I was like, "Oh, you got all the super chats too?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I got it all." All right, so hold on, let me go.
I didn't hear that.
It's all good. 1, 2. I'm gonna put Justin Crazy in there 4 times because he threw in a $100 super chat. So let's say 1, 2,
ballot for Justin.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. All right, so we got 31 from there plus 17. So 1 through 17 will be the list that Green Bean has, and then 18 through, what is that math? 48 will be from my list over here. So and 18 and over will be from my list that I have over here. 1 through 17 will be on your list from the live chat. So here we go. Random number. Oh, 37. All right, so what was it? 48. So I go back. 48, 47, 46, 45, 44, 43, 42, 41, 40. Hold on. 40, 39, 38. I think that's 37. Yeah, we got Keith Berntsen. Keith Berntsen. Reach out to me on social media. You get reach out to me on, what is it called? jetstalk247@gmail.com. So, Keith, you're going to be our t-shirt winner tonight. Thank you. Much, much, much appreciated. But let's go around our panel. Let's give our closing thoughts here. And, Green Bean, any last thoughts for our panel tonight?
Yeah. All right. All non-members, obviously all members should attend the 10 o'clock mock, but all non-members, if you're feeling lonely, come on over to Green Bean Jets Fan at 10:30. We're going to hang out and talk about sugar plums.
Matt, any last words for our panel?
New episode of Just Jets drops tomorrow. We're laughing at Packers fans who thought they were getting a first-round pick. There's 2 rants in me in this episode, so make sure to check it out.
I absolutely love it. Boys and girls, remember 10 o'clock mock happening at 10:30. Members only exclusive. We're going into the Jets mock draft post Elijah Moore trade. Make sure you're there or be square. This is Jets Talk signing off. JETS.
I think every single person in this locker room is a competitor at the highest level. So, yeah, when you feel as if your backs are against the wall, you never have to feel like you got to do it by yourself.
Unbelievable throw. Under pressure. Sacked by Quinnen Williams. Right sideline, Usama's got it.
You look to your left and your right, you got guys out there with you that our whole point is to help each other.
This one to Mims. That's Corey Davis climbing the ladder.
To be able to go out and lead these guys, just to know how hard these guys work and how important it is to them, and then you get that chance to lead them. Everything that happened that needed to happen for us, it almost felt like kind of like a sign, like give like a second chance almost.
Gets extra pushes, running left.
Maybe a little extra life to breathe into the locker room.
Touchdown Jets.